When we are working with summarizing an article, sometimes it's hard to know what to include. And so a rhetorical précis gives you a highly structured 4-sentence argument, and it's a great way to start an analysis paper. The rhetorical précis is a highly structured 4-sentence paragraph that records the essential elements of a unit of spoken or written discourse. Discourse just simply means a discussion, a dialogue. And in this case, it's going to be a dialogue that is contained on paper. I can pick up this discourse and read a quick summary of what you see is relevant in this particular source. Now, each of the 4 sentences requires specific information. So this is when you're going to want to pause this often and write down what it says. You won't have this in front of you, but you can have your notes when you write your rhetorical précis. Sentence 1 is the what. In a single coherent sentence, you're going to provide the following. You need the author, title of the work, source and date in parentheses. A rhetorically accurate verb such as asserts or argues, refutes, proves, explains, etc. Now, in academic writing, one of the fastest ways to improve your writing is to use rhetorically accurate verbs. Move away from linking verbs like this is that, because that's going to put a label on something that you're going to need to explain, and instead tell me what it does. If you want a list of rhetorically accurate verbs, you can find that in the handouts page on OneNote. A clause which begins with because or so that, and that phrase can be implied, containing the major claim, the thesis statement of the work. Now remember, a clause is a group of words that has both a subject and a verb. Okay? Let's talk about the structure of a claim. Know that different teachers are going to teach you this in different ways, but for me, a claim should have both 2 parts, a claim and a warrant. The claim is the argument you're making. Typically that is an abstraction. It's something that can be argued. And then the warrant is the justification for that. So Composition 106 will improve my writing skills. And here's the warrant, because I will be challenged to write different types of arguments. So that is implying that an improvement in writing skills will be the ability to write different kinds of arguments. Is it a great claim and a great warrant? Maybe, maybe not. We can probably play with the word choice a little bit, but think about that in terms of writing your claim. If sentence 1 is the what is being argued, then sentence 2 is the how. How does the writer support his or her argument? In a single coherent sentence, give an explanation of how the writer develops and supports the major claim, the thesis statement. Use direct quotations from the text using the writer's own words whenever possible. Sentence 3 is the why. Why does the writer write this piece at this time to this audience? That's the exigency, the urgency for writing. In a single coherent sentence, give a statement of the author's purpose, followed by an in order to phrase. Now, in order to does not have to be the words in order to. It can be implied, but the concept is the writer writes this now in order to achieve this end goal. Okay? The final sentence of a rhetorical précis is the who, the intended audience, both immediate and secondary audience. In a single coherent sentence, give a description of the intended audience and/or the relationship the author establishes with the audience. I want you to think about a speech. When we give a speech, there's an immediate audience in the room. But let's say that there's a transcript of that speech. For instance, we will read Queen Elizabeth's speech to the troops at Tilbury, written hundreds of years before, but we get a picture into that historical moment from her words. A TED Talk has a transcript established with it. And that TED Talk has an immediate audience, but then we are watching that same speech from the comfort of our living room or on our phone as we're traveling to school. And there's a secondary audience. So always keep that in mind. This is one of the sentences that is the hardest, I think, for kids to write, to have both an immediacy to the audience, but then also the greater picture of what audience can be.